Ayy, this ain't a drill. Only time I plan is on the field. And when I'm on the field, no, I got mad skills. And you know we bout to eat this a fast meal. Y'all gotta pay for this heat like a gas bill. We keep on coming back, so yeah, they mad still. 716 make them pay me some bad bills. Red, white, and blue like Superman, so you know we eating at the Super Bowl. Kill the competition, set up the funeral. Josh Allen catching all the shots you go for. We callin' blitz. Ready to start, we ain't calling no quits. I'm the #1 draft pick. A lot of y'all talk, but I ain't hearing it. Only listen to Keyshawn and him. Talk about the Bills dominating on the field. All our players got them skills. Buffalo gon' make a kill when we talk about the Bills dominating on the field. And our players got them skills. Buffalo gon' make a kill.
Man, it's been a long week, but welcome back to another live episode of the Post Podium Podcast, home of the all truth, no sodium takes. I am your co-host, Aramis.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
It's too long, bro.
It's very long.
It's hard being away from y'all for this long.
Very long. I can't even talk, see? I mean, I got to get my chaps together. Nah, it's 40 keys. How y'all doing out there today?
All right, so we got a lot to get to. There's a lot to get to, and what I was thinking about doing, we talked a little bit about this before the show. Did we come to a final answer on that on the McDermott presser?
You can play it.
Okay,
that's what
all
you
right,
could. But I mean, if I start seeing numbers fall off, it's got to go.
No. I mean, you got to keep in mind, this is going to be a live reaction. So we want to listen to the McDermott presser. If you haven't listened to it already, it came on about an hour ago. Unless they just, I think presser was at 4, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be at 4.
Yeah, so it was somewhere around then. It's only 10 minutes long, but I kind of wanted to just, because I started listening to part of it, but I want to start doing more live reaction stuff. I think that's probably one of the best ways that I can give the most authentic reaction to some of the stuff that comes out of this man's mouth. So, respectfully, what's going on, Thomas? Ray said I'm here for Roy. Sorry, Roy said I'm
Ray? Oh man, Roy, I would never do you like all salt to him. All salt to him. All right.
I got the pepper over this one. Right? I'm gonna keep that right there just so everybody understands what time it is. What's going on, Roy? He said he's here for the free adult entertainment. That's not actually today's show. That's
OnlyFans.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I have a foot fetish OnlyFans for those of you that don't know.
You do. Grounder. Grounder Fournier. Grounder Fournier. I also wanted to plug. This is a live reaction to this. Have you ever had this before?
What is that?
Aguas Frescas. It's mango Minute Maid. I don't know if it's going to be good or terrible, but I'm going to crack it on live, and y'all going to see how this reaction is.
So, sparkling water.
I don't know if it's sparkling, but yeah. Seltzer water I like.
Yeah. That's what Agua Frescas.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, did you want to do a live tasting on the show?
So we got.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, you gotta put that up to the mic so they can hear it.
Oh, the
It's
AM.
too late now. This is nothing but foolishness right now.
Tastes like armpits. All right. We'll go.
Okay, I promise we didn't plan on being like this at the beginning of the show, but
They know us by now.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I can't be serious. I'm incapable of being serious. It's all right.
Thomas said that good old Perrier water.
Mm-hmm. In a can.
So, you gotta go pinky up. Did you see that? Thomas said you gotta go pinky up. There you go. Now.
The most sophisticated Minute Maid drinkers.
All right. So, what do you want to do? Do you want to go through stuff we heard? You want to go through where do you want to start?
We can do the combine thing. We can do the interview first.
Okay.
Cue it up. Now, I don't want you to have me on film listening to the digestion. Is this going to be, how's it going to work? So we've never done this before.
I'm gonna just play the audio.
And he's going to have the camera on us?
Huh?
He's going to have the camera on us, and we can just say stop whenever we want?
Yeah.
Bet.
All right, so we got to pull it up here.
Let's go. No, I'm playing.
All right. So we're going to go on our trusty dusty computer here, and we're going to go to YouTube. And if you would, here it is here. Okay, wait. Is this it?
Yep, 13 minutes ago.
13 minutes ago.
Well, that's 33 minutes, though.
Oh, they ain't this. So which one was this?
Yours is probably a recap, some kind of recap.
Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. That was from 1 month ago.
Oh yeah, no. Okay.
Yeah, so
What we'll do is we'll do a reaction to that later.
Okay.
We're not gonna do 33 minutes. Nobody will watch the show anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to start with the combine stuff then, or
We can start with stuff we heard. I mean,
Okay.
that'd probably be the easiest thing.
let's do it.
All right. So, if I can pull my page back up,
Oh, my bad.
I got it. The weekly news.
Audio is low.
Is it just me?
Just mine. Hold on.
That's crazy.
Okay, that should be better now.
Let's try it.
Somebody
try it
hit the pad button on the interface there. It wasn't me, I promise.
Okay. Well, as
Thank you, Roy.
as we were going to talk about Sean McDermott spoke today, we don't know what he said yet because I couldn't find it when I was driving in. I tried. I found Dan Mitchell's recap of it. I mean, from what I heard, I'm not going to go into great details about the combine presser because I didn't hear it. But I do know that McDermott kind of doubled down on what Beane said in regards to Keon Coleman has to do better next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still wondering what the hell they drafted him for because it's just what did you expect out of the man? You put him on the field next to Mac Hollins. You put him on the field next to Khalil Shakir and a bunch of other people that just mix and match style.
Mm-hmm.
You saw his college tape. He pretty much did what he did in college, but somehow he's supposed to be some revolution. You thought you were going to find lightning in a bottle again, and you didn't.
Well, I think what they were aiming for was Kelvin Benjamin. I think they were going for that style of player again, somebody who is big, long, physical, may not be the fastest guy, may not be the best route runner, but, I mean, he exploded on the scene when he got on board with Cam Newton and his first 2 seasons, he was great.
And I really hated that pick. I hated him. I hated the pick. I hated the love he got.
Yeah.
It was not sustainable. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of those deals when you look at certain schools. You guys know how I am about Alabama. I don't like Alabama players because they do great in Alabama and then they become, usually less than in the pros.
Yeah.
So I think Florida State defensive backs they're Azarae Thomas is one for Florida State, a big body, everybody's going to fall in love with at the combine. And I'm worried about him because, it's Florida State. The same with Keon Coleman. The same with all these other guys. It's like, okay, I can see the path for greatness, but I haven't seen a pipeline from that school, vast enough for me to say, okay, that's it.
Yeah, they haven't been good in a while. It really has been a long time since they've been, elite enough for you to hold that name in high regard.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you go as far as to say how much they gave Ukulele his props. That what was he 6'4", 255-pound quarterback they got. Everybody was in love with this dude before the season started, but they had a bad year, had a real bad year.
Wow.
And his stock took a drop. So once again, Florida State, another one of those schools you're like, I got to see the baby first.
Yeah.
So that was something, and then I heard something about they're looking at trying to go in and get a defensive lineman in the first round. Okay, no, I mean you can, but my thinking is this: defensive line, interior and pass rush, if you so choose, is deep. It's a deep class, and I know I just said last show that I went to top of the top.
Mm-hmm.
But that includes positions that are a little weaker, as in cornerback, as in, safety. Once you get past the top 4 or 5, it's going to be a weak class. So,
right.
Trey Amos, coming out of Ole Miss, and that defense in Mississippi University was something to marvel at. Then they got a lot of guys coming out this year. So let me get one of those guys, defensive line or defensive end, even that corner I just spoke of. So I think when we're talking about the combine, I don't have enough knowledge right now to say who's going to rise, who's going to fall.
Okay.
But I can tell you there are guys that I am interested in looking at, and there are guys that I do think will change the landscape of the whole draft process.
Okay. Well, so here's my thought, because Kev is saying then get the best of the deep class, which is something that I wanted the Bills to do last year when it came to receiver.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think when you're talking about the Bills' strategy, right? And part of the reason I titled this episode Brandon Beane's focus changing. When you look at the agreement between GM and head coach in their pressers when they both talked about, we need playmakers on defense. Brandon Beane was the one that kind of just made it sound like, yeah, it's a no-brainer, but it's not. Like, he kept saying we're not one player away. I don't think anybody thinks we're one player away, and if those people that do, you need to take a step back. Like, we lost a lot of people on defense this season, right? Whether it's free agency or they've shown themselves to not be good enough to be a starter at some point. The jury on Cole Bishop is still out, right? We'll see if he can develop. It's been hard for the safeties that they've drafted. Right now, we've only seen this team have success with safeties that they've signed, right? So all of that is to say, I think when you're talking about what Beane and Sean agree on, it's we need playmakers on defense. Well, yeah, no, Sherlock. you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, fine. But are you going to the question has to become, are you willing to do things you haven't done before to obtain a result you've never had? Right. This team, let me ask you this and let me see what you think about this in chat. Please let me know what you think about this. Aside from our safeties, have there been any other elite playmakers on this team? Consistent elite, huh?
In McDermott's tenure?
Yes.
Okay.
Your thoughts?
No.
no. Aside from the safeties,
consistently elite. No. Yeah, there's been nobody. I mean, you talk about Trey White. That's fine. You can have it if you want. I don't. Okay. Matt Milano's been injured how many years now? So that doesn't count. Terrell Bernard has showed he had a weak year last year. His first year was a revelation, but we got to bounce back to the 23 season. Let's see who else we're looking at. You're looking at Taron Johnson. He's a local legend. He'll go on the wall based on what he's done in Buffalo, but you're talking about people say that he's the number one nickel back. That's cool, but what did he do last year? What did he do to impact games in a I'm here moment? What was an I'm here moment last season?
Right.
Let's go across the defensive line. Greg Rousseau, he's a nice piece. I wouldn't mind keeping him around. A lot of people, you're hit or miss with him.
Yeah.
Ed Oliver, he needs a piece next to him. So neither one of those guys can be elite when they need a piece next to him. Von Miller, he's 35.
Right.
I'm 40, so it's not saying he's old because I'm older, but in football years, he's like a million. So we're going to go ahead and say no, because Rasul does. We're not talking about Christian Benford. We're not talking about because he's not elite. Elite sits down a half of a field.
I agree.
And I don't think he does that.
Yep.
So going back in the archives of who we've had, AJ Kleins and stuff, we're not going to talk about those guys. Tremaine Edmonds, no.
Yep. It's
just they draft a sum of parts defense. They don't draft a defense with a guy as a cornerstone. And that's why when we played the Chiefs last year, they talked about, not last year, 2 seasons now removed, where they talk about how we were so banged up on defense. But who was the elite player that we were missing? There wasn't one. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So we're missing a sum of people. It wasn't one guy that damned us that game. It was that we missed 5 or 6. So, they were talking about this how banged up we were, but it's a sum of parts. AJ Klein comes in and does whatever. Balin Spector. See, this is the way I look at it. I was thinking about this earlier. When you're looking at this defense and you say, okay, we got Joe Andreessen, you got Balin Spector, you got, and this is not disrespectful, but why are they here? The reason why I say those guys because they're the back end of rosters. And on a team that's a contender, a team that's going to the Super Bowl, you don't have those. You got to have elite.
Right.
You don't have good stories. You don't have. I'm sorry, DeMar Hamlin. You don't have that as your cornerstone safety. You don't have just because he knows the system. And that's why I thought your thumbnail was interesting because when you're talking about changing the culture, changing the way you're thinking, this is exactly where my mind went to. You don't bank on 5th, 6th, 7th round guys. We shouldn't be sitting here saying, oh man, we hit gold in the 5th, 6th, 7th round again. That's a non-story.
Right.
Because you're talking about a Philadelphia Eagles team who just won the Super Bowl and littered with first and second round talent in the front 7. They don't even talk about anybody past round 3 or 4. So, when you're talking about the back, but you don't have to worry about the backs because they're decent. And we went through where they were drafted. We went through how old they are already. And that's the model. Somebody asked, I think they asked Beane or McDermott, maybe it was McDermott because I think it was today. They said, how did they say it? They said something to the effect of, are you patterning your team after anybody? Are you modeling your theory after anybody? Mm-hmm. And however it goes, like I said, I didn't hear the press conference, but it's just a loose translation of what I heard by way of Dan Mitchell. That they said, no, but the thing is, if you're looking at the teams that win, how do you build those teams? You want to win in the trenches, right? Mm-hmm. Build a damn trench. You want to help your trench out? Build a secondary. Don't go out and get Russell Douglas. Don't go out there and get Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp. Get us a cornerstone. Get us Xavier Watts. Get us Nick Illuminor, whatever his last name is.
Right.
Even Worry. I'm sorry. Get us somebody that can come in here and the quarterback has to know where he is at all times. Because when you're looking at our defense, it's a soft defense. Is DeMar Hamlin good? We don't know because they're asked to do what the coach tells them to do because he thinks they're limited. He knows they're limited. That's why the game plan is such. So in order for them to get better players in here, they have to get a better scheme to be enticing to players that want to come here. Because James Cook said it. I don't mind playing in the snow. It's not that bad after 20 minutes. That only works for certain people.
Right.
I want to go to Buffalo. I'm going to Buffalo, Miami. I'm going to Buffalo, New York City. I'm going to Buffalo, LA. Who do you think's going to win? Why are you coming to Buffalo? Because of the fun system to play in. Why do you come to Buffalo? Because they got a genuine juice. I'm tired of hearing about this juice that the Bills have, the coaches have. This juice is old. It's played out. It's tired. Now what I want to do is see a team that goes out there and gets the young up-and-comers, gets those guys interested, and gets them wanting to play for them truly. Not these tryhards, and I'm not calling the whole defense tryhards, but you hear everybody say, yeah, I want to play for him because he brings the juice every day. Where is the juice when we play against the Rams? Where was the juice when we played against the Lions? Where was the juice? It wasn't there.
Yep.
So something's got to give.
Yeah. I want to do a quick exercise just to drive the point home. Because to be clear, the point that we're trying to make is that what we had on defense last season was not good enough, right? That's all we're trying to say, and I think to a larger degree we have to accept that the entirety of the defense has not been good enough. We have decent players. And I think decent is a very respectful word in a positive way because the guys that we have are all playing out of position. Terrell Bernard was a safety, right? Christian Benford was a safety. Matt Milano was a safety, right? In college, Ed Oliver at his size and his strength and his lower body strength and all that kind of stuff, it worked for him being a nose tackle. He's a what's the word I'm looking for? He is a oh man, the word escapes me. But he needs another piece beside him to activate his superpower, right? Greg Rousseau, same thing. He needs another piece across from him on the defensive line to activate his superpower, which is pressures.
See, for me, Rousseau is Jason Kidd. To me, Rousseau is Jason Williams, white chocolate,
okay.
not the one that motorbike.
Yeah.
And why I say that is because he's a facilitator. He's the one that feeds the guy on the other side, the elite pass rusher that gets the sack. He's the one that rushes them into the sack. And I think he could do that if they gave him a partner,
right?
Give him the peanut butter to his jelly, if you will.
Yep.
Yes, I said that.
Yep. As June would say, peanut butter jelly the long way.
The long way. Everybody's like, what the heck is going on?
Right. It just came into my mind because he says it so much.
Well, for context, what it is somebody, I don't know if they were under the influence of some kind of narcotic or whatever. They stacked up Wonder Bread on his end and put the peanut butter and jelly on the internal crust and stacked it up like a Jenga. and it's disturbing, but the long way. I got you. Say less.
All right. I want to get to this exercise really quick, and then we got some comments I really want to get to, including a super chat.
Ding, 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 ding.
I know. We got appreciate that, Scott. Thank you very much. We will get to that in just a second, but I want to go through this exercise. I'm looking at the Eagles depth chart, and I'm looking at the Bills depth chart, and I want you to tell me who you start over an Eagles player.
Yo, I did this already, so let's go.
All right, let's go. Okay, so we're just doing defense. Just doing defense. Never mind the offense, right? So okay, edge rusher, Nolan Smith Jr. Okay, Buffalo Bills, their edge rusher at that same position would be Greg Rousseau. Mm-hmm. You starting Greg Rousseau or Nolan Smith? Nolan Smith. Why?
Why?
Yep.
Because he poses a threat of getting to the quarterback and actually taking him down, as opposed to Greg Rousseau, who's going to feed him into Josh Sweat, we'll say.
Okay. All right. Let's see. The Eagles, they have it's weird. This depth chart has 3 defensive tackles there.
Can he probably run a 40? You got Josh Sweat as a linebacker?
No, they got Josh Sweat as an edge. So it looks like they got a 5. I don't know. This is weird. This is from the Eagles website. So
they know what they're talking about. I hope.
Yeah,
so.
Maybe.
So.
All right. So we'll say Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are their defensive tackles. Mm-hmm. We'll say those are their starters, because I mean we saw Milton Williams on the field in the Super Bowl and all that kind of stuff.
Milton Williams is like the equivalent to
Jordan Phillips.
Like a
better version of Jordan
that's the third, him or Austin Johnson, if you will, because Austin Johnson is kind of the third guy after him.
Yeah.
But so I mean, either way it goes. Yeah. But yeah, to your point, I know you're going with that one. So Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis to Ed Oliver and Daquan
why are
Jones.
you calling me? Somebody. Okay. All right.
Who you sharing the phone with? Anyway,
your phone is calling me. I have no idea why.
You got your phone on you?
You don't have your phone on you? Somebody got your phone calling me.
Yeah, somebody got your phone.
All right, I'm sorry. Yeah, your point?
I don't know what it was anymore.
He going to be thinking real hard right now. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
So we're going to go with, okay, so I will throw a bone here. I would be interested in seeing Ed Oliver next to Jalen Carter. Why? Because it's a nasty factor. I mean, Jalen Carter is definitely a guy that you're looking at, and he's going to get after the quarterback by hook or crook. Jalen Carter is definitely somebody that I think would help the Bills' defensive line out immensely in terms of taking a double team and allowing Ed Oliver to cook. If you want to go even further than that, I guess because A's gone, we're going to go with Josh Sweat and Von Miller. That's a no-brainer as well. I mean, if you're going peak Von Miller, then obviously you're gonna definitely take that. But at this day and age, at this climate, you're looking at the youth, and Josh Sweat wins. I'm not sure what he's looking at in terms of linebackers.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm so sorry. So your friend is bringing your phone, man. Okay, so
he's stressed out.
Okay, I had no clue what that was about. Okay, fair enough. All right, so the next, I mean, obviously Josh Sweat is the next edge rusher, right?
Josh Sweat over Vaughn. So
and just so we're clear, I mean, you went through the defensive tackles for the Bills, right?
I said I take Carter over Daquan, but I stay with Ed. I stay with Ed only because I think if he had somebody like Daquan, like Carter next to him to take that double team, I mean, the nasty factor and size and strength factor with Ed Oliver's speed. Yeah. Oh, peanut butter and jelly. The long way. This might be a show staple now. It might be a show staple. All right, so let's hurry up and get through this here. So Josh Sweat. For AJ Epinesa is listed as the starter. Epinesa? Oh, that's even worse. I already said Josh Sweat over mine, so yeah, okay.
Yeah.
AJ Epinesa, the guy they're talking about maybe trading this year, huh?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
How'd that go?
Fair enough. Say less. N'Kobe Dean and Zach Bond, because they run a nickel too.
Okay.
N'Kobe Dean and Zach Bond, those linebackers. You starting them over Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard?
That's a tough one for me.
It is.
Why is it tough? Because if I got to see Terrell Bernard behind their defensive line, I think it'll look a lot different.
Yes.
I think it'll look a lot different.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, so that's Matt Milano because of injury history. I'll take Zach Bond, but Terrell Bernard, you can stick around.
So you would sit N'Kobe Dean then?
Yeah, I would have to. Yeah.
Okay. Listen, that's fair. I think Zach Bond had an amazing year.
Yeah.
So
and all it took was moving him to the right position, like you said.
That's it. And I think Matt Milano, he's starting. His injuries are piling up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, he's going to go into this offseason healthy, and he's going to have a chance to come back and show that he can stay on the field. But man, in the last 5 years, he's had one healthy season.
And all by surprise. So.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Darius Slade Jr.
Yeah, so Rasul.
He would be. Let me see who they have as their number one. So the number one is Christian Benford.
Okay. Ooh. If it was a Rasul, it would be so much easier. I mean, I think Christian is a good player. I do, but Slay, how old is Slay? Slay is older, isn't he?
Slay is in his 30s, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll take Christian on premise of the age. Only because. Are we talking about just this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to start a guy for one game.
Okay, for one game, yeah, give me Slay.
Okay. Quinyon Mitchell over Rasul Douglas.
Can I have him over anybody as you mentioned? Anybody you mentioned after this, let me get that, please.
And then nickel, Cooper DeJean.
Let me get that as well.
Over Taron Johnson?
Let me get Cooper DeJean.
Wow. Okay. All right. I like it. a lot. CJ Gardner Johnson over...
Why are we doing this? Why are we going
over Taylor Rapp? Because we have to drive the point home.
No, Gardner Johnson.
All right. And then Reed Blankenship. What didn't Reed get destroyed in Kansas City? Is that he's no longer there? Nobody even notices Reed Blankenship on this defense. You notice that?
Yeah.
When he was part of a bad defense, they blamed him, kicked him out because it's his fault.
Part of a good defense. He fit.
Right. He becomes part of this Eagles defense. You never hear his name again.
Right.
I saw him in the Super Bowl. I'm like,
he's there?
The same Blankenship that was supposed to cover Gabe Davis? That guy?
And the thing is, I think that's what they thought they were building around Damar Hamlin. I really do. I think they screwed him. Not because he he's good or he just got the raw deal, but it's like they're like, oh, this defense is so good. We can just throw them back there, be fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was
Laura says Eagles win. Yeah, look.
Unfortunately, you do.
Yeah, that wasn't the point, but I guess it kind of is the point. And here's why this is so interesting. Did you hear what Jeremy White was talking about the salary cap in 2030?
I'm glad you said salary cap, but go ahead. I'll let you cook.
Okay. So basically, I'll paraphrase what he was talking about. Basically, in 2029, the NFL is supposed to get all of these new deals, or I'm sorry, the deals that the NFL is currently on expire in 2029, so they'll be able to re-up and have newer, bigger deals based on obviously better numbers, better viewership numbers and everything, from sports betting and all the other partnership deals that they have. So the jump in revenue and the jump in the salary cap at that point is expected to be well over $300 million, right? Mm-hmm. So what the Eagles have done is they've set up, I think, the five highest contracts they have are set to really hit their salary cap in 2030, mm-hmm. when
they get money.
The salary cap is supposed to take another jump. Mm-hmm. So by the time they get to this point of 2030 where all these void years start to hit the salary cap, it's not going to matter.
Right.
If they wanted, they would have the money at that point to either let these dudes go and just, take the dead cap hit.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think the reason that I'm kind of using the Eagles as an example is, A, their GM is just like our GM, and B, their head coach has been in a much different situation than our head coach has been in. And I kind of want to point those two things out. Before I do that, though, I want to get to these comments. I don't want to disrespect Scott, so we're going to answer his question. He says, we don't know how Brandon Beane's going to set up his board. If there's a run on defensive players, should we double down on the secondary or DT double down first and second?
I'm not doubling down DT first and second. Only because that's deep. I mean, you're talking about well into the third, you're going to get a starter.
Yeah.
Defensive tackle is I can't say unprecedented, but I will say that it's one that you're going to find somebody that's going to be a difference maker, even as deep as the fourth round. If you're looking at a one tech, you're looking at maybe in the fifth round, because you got Deion Walker coming out of Kentucky. He's supposed to move up, but that's the third round. Yeah. I mean, you could still do something, in the first and second round with the cornerstone and still, like you said, build your Eagles defense in Buffalo with all these other draft picks. Like I said, if you get one wide receiver in this draft and he can produce, the rest can be defense. I don't care where you put him.
Yeah. Steve says this roster has been second-tier talent, overhyped by the fans. If you collect the defensive stats from the game where Bills got eliminated each year and read them out loud, you would puke. There've been a lot of I've listened to Warren Sharp. I've read Warren Sharp. I've listened to Go Long TD, Tyler Dunn when he had Jim Monis on. It's very interesting. And honestly, it's kind of damning, the stats on the Bills' defense in playoff losses. It's bad, right? But what I don't think people are really like honing in on in general in the playoffs is defensively, we just haven't been good in wins as well. I mean, this Denver Broncos win this year is probably the best wild card win we've ever had.
Yeah, not performance-wise, but against talent.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Against a team that is talented and is, but again, they're young, they're up and coming. I mean, I'm not going to want to continue to see them in the playoffs. Right. So I think what this point brings out is we can't just go by the stats in playoff losses. As a whole in the playoffs, the defense has not performed the same way that it does in the regular season. Statistically, I mean, you can Google it any which way you like, the advanced stats, the regular stats. It's not even close, right? And so what I'm going to challenge you guys to do, the viewers, because I mean, we've kind of already gone into the deep, the weeds of all this stuff. You answer the question why, right? Because for me to say it, I don't want to sound like a jerk. I mean, we've kind of been talking about all of these issues, and this is one of the things, and I don't want to seem like I'm like dunking on anybody, but we've been talking about a lot of the same stuff for 2 years. We started this in what, May of 23, right? And from that time, we've been talking about issues with the types of players they pick. We've been talking about issues with the defensive scheme. We've been talking about coaching, decision-making from the coaches. We've been talking about the culture, all these different things that people are now starting to be a little bit more open and talk more openly about. They may not be directly saying Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane, but when you talk about the team, the Bills need to be better in the first and second rounds of the drafts, who you talking about, right? So let's bring this back to my point now about the difference between Brandon Beane and Howie Roseman, and then also the comparison between Nick Sirianni and Sean McDermott.
Well,
so
before you do that, because I told you I did this already.
Yeah.
Your exercise. Now, this is what I want to say. I want to double down on Philly, Buffalo, Kansas City, and the Ravens, okay? Philadelphia, of their 11 starters, 9 of them were drafted in the first 3 rounds. Kansas City, of their 11 starters, I know it says 12. I don't know why they have an extra safety or something listed for some reason. But even regardless of that, of their 12 starters, we'll say, they have 9 players drafted in the first 4 rounds. Wow. The Ravens, they have 10 players drafted in the first 4 rounds. These are their starters. Now you go to the Bills. They have 7 players drafted in the first 4 rounds, 1 player in the 5th, 2 in the 6th. Those are our starters.
Wow.
We're not front loaded at all. We're like middle of the pack, right in the 5th, 6th. That's where we are. So tell me, how are you supposed to succeed with this?
It really, it's, how can I say this? Because I have to, I'm working on my professional game is what I'm doing. I'm working on my professional game. I got to find a professional way to say this. You know what this is like? You get used to giving people truth massages for 2 years with sandpaper. And now you have to actually, like, you know, dial it back and smooth it out and you know, be a little softer. That's what this is like. No, okay. So I think with Howie Roseman and Brandon Beane, both of them are money guys. Mm-hmm. They are not, and this is from the comparison that Jim Monas gave in the Go Long TD podcast.
You did watch it good. All right.
Did, yeah. And I want to give credit where credit is due. Howie Roseman is a money guy, right? And what Jim Monas said was Howie Roseman surrounded himself with scouts who had also been GMs at some point. Now, mind you, Jim Monas was a scout for the Bills. He worked for the Bills before. So he knows how the system works inside the building for the most part.
And he
right?
was fired by McDermott after the 17th season, full disclosure. So
there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Laura. So when you look at Brandon Beane, all the scouts on our team, they haven't been ex-GMs somewhere else. I mean, yeah, we trust these guys, right? But I've said this before, but I think Jim Monas said it better. He said there's a stark difference between the picks that we select in the first and second rounds and the picks we select from 3 on out. And when you look at the development of those players from 3 on out, there's a reason why those players blossom faster than the guys that you pick in the first and second rounds. First off, if you and Sean and Beane have said this before, they like athleticism, size, measurables, right? But you have to combine athleticism, size, and measurables with he's a good locker room guy. He's not a diva in any way, shape, or form. All that stuff, right? Scouts don't usually have to go out and look for that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of stuff that a head coach is responsible for after you get the player. Right? Now, here's what I mean. When you get a player like, let's just use George Pickens, for example, because everybody's calling that dude crazy, right? Russell Wilson went on to say, I respect him. He's a good dude. He works hard and blah, blah, blah. Like, I need him. You know what I'm saying? He didn't say anything bad about working with George Pickens, right? So if his teammates are not turning on him, his head coach ain't booting him out of the building, to some degree, that has to speak to the strength of the culture that the head coach has established in that room. Like, other teams might look at him as a diva, but here he's just one of the guys. Mm-hmm. And he knows when it's time to go to work, we go to work. Now, on the field, does it look like he takes plays off? Maybe. That's part of coaching. That's coaching's job, is to find a way to get him motivated. If you can't, well, look, the justification for picking a guy like that is, look at what he can do. Look at what he can do on the field. Mm-hmm. He's bodying dudes out here. He may be a little short up top. You know what I'm saying? He may be a little crazy. But look what he can do on the field. If we can just coach him up right, if we can get him to acclimate himself to this culture in this locker room, he can go out on the field and do big things for us. Right? But we don't think that way here in Buffalo. We think anything that looks like a diva, quacks like a diva, walks like a diva needs to stay far away from Buffalo. Yep. As if, one diva can ruin the whole locker room. realistically, did Stephon Diggs ruin the locker room? Did we, like, the year after we lose that dude, we go to an AFC championship, right? And that's no slight against Stephon Diggs. That's just, that shows you that the culture in the building can sustain with or without a diva. Nobody was complaining about Diggs in the locker room. That was a head coach issue. Now, this is just a theory. This is just a theory, and then I'll get into the comparison between Brandon Beane and Nick Sirianni. My theory is Sean McDermott doesn't want to have to worry about managing personalities. What was described in the Tyler Dunn report, Sean McDermott's militant demeanor and the way that he likes to establish culture in the building is very rigid. It's very, do things the way that they're supposed to, all that kind of stuff, right? The way that he operates, I don't think he really wants to deal with any deep conversations from a player.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Especially if that player has any kind of juice. What's going on with the video? Did we cut out? Okay. That must just be me. So when we're talking about, and I'll use the Shady conversation as a reference. You pull Shady into the office and you say, "Hey man, I noticed you're not giving the same effort on the field this year that you were giving last year." Okay, what are you basing that on? And I'm sure Sean is probably looking at the statistics and all that kind of stuff, and he's saying, this is why, the numbers show you're not producing the same way that you were before. And I think at that point, Shady started to say, well, look who I'm playing behind. You got me playing behind these bums, right? Sean is not prepared to deal with situations like that. Because what is he supposed to say? Well, these are the players I picked because these are the guys I like and these are the guys I want on my team.
Right.
Well, that sounds like more of an emotional thing. But I digress. I'll move on because I don't want to keep getting back into that same conversation.
No, I mean I think that goes into what you put into the topic or the title of the show. Got to change the mentality. If you listen to, I don't know, did you listen to the Shay Shay and Ocho Cinco nightcap with James Cook on it?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so he went on it to explain the $15 million thing.
Uh-huh.
And he said, in essence, what it was is it's not really him. It was a phone call that went amongst him and Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley and all these guys in order to kind of discuss how they're going to take back respect, how they need to be viewed and paid according to what they do on the field. It's swerving back to their lane, and they want to capitalize on this, which is okay. This isn't a replacement. You can get a running back dime a dozen kind of thing. Like you said, it's the top running backs, and James Cook didn't say this. This was something that Ocho and Shea already heard, and James Cook goes on to say, we just want what we deserve. Yeah. And he just kept saying, hey, look, what is your number? Whatever I deserve, whatever they think I deserve. And he said, I'm not no diva. That's not me. He said, I'm not no cancer or nothing. Why'd you say that? Why does it matter? If you go to, like you said, you go to Pittsburgh, you think anybody cares? You go to the Eagles, you think anybody cares? Right. If you put 16 touchdowns, anybody going to question you? Why in Buffalo? Yep. Why here? And this is the thing about that too, when it comes to this James Cook double talk, because now you introduce Greg Rousseau, and this is what I texted you earlier, a couple of days ago. Why is it when Greg Rousseau's number comes up to 25 mil, we're supposed to look at the percent of salary cap? Why is it when we talk about him, we're supposed to look at this is not average cash per year. This is a number. Yeah. But when you talk about James Cook, 15 mil, get him the hell out of here. No, he's crazy. He's at 44%. What did Rousseau get? When has Rousseau ever gotten you 10 sacks? When has Rousseau ever gotten you to a point where you almost threatened 10 sacks with him? The man had 3 sacks against Arizona week 1. He ended up with 8.5. So he had 5 sacks for the rest of the season. But $25 million is justified by the percent of contract. James Cook, the Bills paid out 2.5% of the salary cap to running backs last year. That's not all of them. So $7 million for our running backs. Ty Johnson, Ray Davis, and a guy that the league is now lauding as one of the elite running backs, whether Buffalo sees it or not, because he wears red, white, and blue. Whether you like it or not, it's because he wears our colors that we don't see it. Khalil Shakir, you saw him in Houston right now. You'd be like, yo, why couldn't we get that guy? James Cook over in Atlanta, why don't we have him? Yeah. But because we got him, we take him for granted until they go away. He didn't do that in Buffalo. Yes, he did. But you got in the way of $15 million. You got in the way of $25 million. That's what did it for you. The extra draft capital you had to use to move up in the draft to get this guy is what you said. It's not worth it until you see him somewhere else, and it is worth it.
Right.
So when is it going to stop being a hypothetical and make it real? Make it real. I don't care if you bust on a first-round draft pick that you really had believed in. I don't care if we saw the tape in college. This guy was all everything, and you miss. But at this point, 7 years later, 8 drafts now, you can't keep missing. You know, 1 miss, cool. 2 miss, okay. But now you're starting to have a perpetual cycle. And that's what Buffalo's afraid of. That's what I'm afraid of. That's what everybody that watches this podcast and everywhere else is afraid of. It's not a jump on Beane. It's not a jump on McDermott. They're our coach and our GM, just as well as Josh Allen is the MVP. But we can't sit here and oppose and say we're worried. That's crazy to me. I'm going to sit here and say I'm worried.
Yeah. I literally rewatched Brandon Beane's presser from right after the AFC Championship game again. I watched it back today, and I think I was a little more disgusted at what I heard now. He got upset, and you can hear it in his tone. He got upset when he was challenged on the point of why the first and second round players aren't having the kind of success that they should have. And he does this a lot too. He brought his answer back to you have to give the other team credit. That's a cop-out.
Yeah, I hate that.
That is a cop-out. You got to give the other team credit. Like, why? Why? You have Josh Allen. Like, you are supposed to be the top dog. And if that's your mentality that you have to be the top dog no matter what, then it don't matter what anybody else does. It should never matter what anybody else does. I mean, imagine if the Eagles took that approach. Would they have been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years? Like, imagine if the Chiefs took that approach. Do they go for a three-peat? You know what I'm saying? Well, I mean, you gotta give the Bills credit. They weren't saying that after we beat them in Week 11. They didn't say none of that. What did they say? What did Mahomes say? We'll see him again. Yep. I mean, I remember Damaris calling me right after that game and saying, "Yo, you hear Andy Reid? He sound like it ain't no big deal." Like, that's how they say it ain't no big deal. We'll get it figured out. We got it. We'll see him again. Like, they knew this stuff, right? But here we have, our reporters asking Brandon Beane about the ref calls, and then this is the other part that got me like kind of irritated. You then have your GM saying, yeah, we've been on the phone with them, we've sent them, messages and stuff like that, and talking about the ref calls. Why are you spending so much time trying to get an answer from the league on specific calls when at the end of the day, the Eagles showed you, if you got better players, none of that matters. You won't find yourself in 3-point games. You won't find yourself in situations where everything is on Josh Allen's shoulders at the last second. And you damn sure won't get into your end of season presser and say, man, if you told me that, we'd have another shot next year with the ball in Josh Allen's hands with a chance to win, I'm sure all of you would take that. No. You know what I would take? A dub. Can I get that?
Hit by hook or crook. I don't care who's got the ball. I don't care what time is on the clock. I don't care what the situation is. I need to win. And that's the thing that you're insulting my intelligence at this point. And that's what I think I said when we talked about that, those two press conferences. I actually appreciated McDermott's way more than I appreciated Beane. Beane irritated me the whole time, which is a stark contrast to what it's usually been. I've actually liked Beans. I thought he was more straightforward. But, yeah, he was arrogant. Mm-hmm. He was angry. He was irritated. And there was a reason why, because he knew he wasn't good enough. Yep. He knows it. And this has nothing to do with McDermott. And that's why I posed to you guys when we talked about that, are they on one accord? Because Beane said one thing, McDermott said something different. Beane said this, McDermott said that. The sky is green, sky is blue. Which is it? Why can't you guys figure out how to get along? Just because you won't speak up to him like Dayball did, like Russ Brandon got under his skin, like, because you don't bother him. Why is it that I gotta allow you to give me the same nonsense repackaged every year when it's never good enough? It's not. It's not a success because you made it to the AFC Championship. It's not.
Right.
The team you lost to just got blown out.
Right.
It should have been you. No, you should have got blown out, but you should have been in the dance, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of assessing what the goal is. Like, yep. Where's the goalpost? Where's the finish line? If the finish line is the Super Bowl, then we didn't make it. We failed. Like, anything less than that is intolerable. So that leads me to the comparison of Nick Sirianni and Sean McDermott. Nick Sirianni has been on the job in Philly now, 5 years?
Yes, about right.
I think that's right.
I'll look it up. Make your point.
Okay.
I'll look it up.
In that span, Nick Sirianni has 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl victory now, right? Now, they traded for A.J. Brown 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And that was a very big deal because at the time, they had drafted Devontae Smith 2 years prior, and Devontae Smith had shown himself to be a 1B, so to speak. Not a bona fide number one guy that can win no matter what, but still a good receiver, right? And even though they spent their number 1 pick on a wide receiver who came in and showed that he could be productive, may not have been the impact player they wanted to be, but it's still good, they decided it's not good enough.
This is Sirianni's 4th year.
This is serious. So
that was his 4th year.
In 4 years, this man has been to 2 Super Bowls and won 1.
And he was on the hot seat once too. Just don't forget about that.
Last year, right?
In 2023, he was on the hot seat.
This is why I'm comparing the two, because you got a guy that comes in and they drafted this quarterback. I think this is Jalen Hurts' 4th year, right? They drafted him the same year they got Nick Sirianni. Is that right?
No, he came the year before.
Okay, so all right, so they got Jalen Hurts. Nick Sirianni comes in the year after.
Mm-hmm.
You sure?
Yep. Because
they had Peterson was the head coach before, right? But Peterson didn't have Jalen Hurts.
Yes, it says Sirianni came in 21.
Interesting. Yeah, and even this season, right? No Bones says Nick Sirianni was a fire candidate early in this season.
Yes, he was.
So when you look at where Nick Sirianni was, only a year removed from a Super Bowl appearance, and the city is talking about this ain't good enough. Look at the roster,
mm-hmm.
right? Has anybody in Buffalo looked at the roster and been like, "Yo, how have you not done it with this team?" I think you and I, to a degree, have looked at what we had before Von Miller and said, okay, you're close.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to be smart now.
Yep.
Then they got Von Miller, and we were both just like, all right, well, there's nothing you can do now.
Well, I wasn't that calm, but yeah. I wasn't that calm. And it's not that I thought Von was a bad player. I just want to reiterate that. It wasn't that. It was that I knew signing him was going to limit you from doing anything else, as you're seeing now.
And it did. That's right. You were absolutely right. But so now let's shift gears to where Sean McDermott has been for his tenure in going on 9 seasons now and not having 1 Super Bowl appearance with perhaps the best quarterback in the NFL right now. And to top that off, the best quarterback in the playoffs in the last 5 years. Hands down, bar none, no comparison. Look up the stats, the advanced stats to tell you Josh Allen has been the best performer in the playoffs in wins and losses in the playoffs in the last 5 years, period. You have that guy, and you can't get to one. Now, it's easy to compare the Bills to a Super Bowl winner, right? People can look at that and say, "Oh, well, that's the guy. They won the Super Bowl." But when you begin to ask the questions that we've always asked, which is why, how, right? You have to ask how the Eagles got to a Super Bowl 2 times in 4 years. Why did they blow out the Chiefs in the Super Bowl this year? Like, these are the questions that will help you to reveal the issues with your own team. Why have the Bills not gone to a Super Bowl in Sean McDermott's entire tenure? How is it that you've had Josh Allen this entire time and not been able to do it? Now, this is not a scream at McDermott session. This is not we're simply asking questions to try to understand what the real issues are and come to some real solutions, right? Which brings us back to the topic of this show, which is a mentality change. Now, based on the little bit that I've heard from Sean McDermott in this presser, it doesn't sound like the mentality has changed too much. But I will say this, and I want you to give me your thoughts on this, because I talked to D about it like a week ago or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I haven't mentioned it on the show. And I was thinking about bringing it up, but I'm going to just bring it up now. I think, and this is my hot take for the offseason, I think if there is another person to be fired, if the Bills do not get back to where they were last season, or if they don't get to a Super Bowl, I think the next person to be fired is Brandon Beane. Well, and now here's why I say this. I say this because when you look at what Sean said in his presser, in saying emphatically, we need blue chippers, we need playmakers, Brandon Beane in his presser was kind of trying to calm down those talks about, yeah, we need more play. He didn't come out and say, yeah, we need more play. Sean did.
Right.
Sean openly said, yeah, we need more blue chip. We need more playmakers, on defense. Mm-hmm. Right. So first and foremost, we have to come back to the place where we all agree and understand that the owner has said this is Sean's show. Sean runs the show. Sean was hired before Brandon Beane. Sean chose Brandon Beane to come in as the GM. Okay? Operating from that place, if the Bills go into this draft and they do not come out with at least 2 starters on defense,
Real
at least.
Starters.
Huh?
Real starters.
Right.
Not 6 rounders to just start.
Right. And especially in the first 2 rounds, if they don't get impact players from those 2 positions, and the Bills don't get to another AFC championship game and they don't win that and get past the Chiefs and all the other teams that they're going to have to go at now, because the Texans are going to come back better, the Ravens are going to come back better, the Chargers, the Broncos are going to come back better. You know what I'm saying? Like that cycle is going to continue. Excuse me. The Steelers may buck their trend and go get Aaron Rodgers. Who knows, right? If the Bills do not get through all of that after what they accomplished this season, I think Beane might be done. Because if you're Sean, who else do you fire?
I mean, I'm okay with that. And the thing is, when McDermott's saying get me blue chippers, you have to have the gall to say, all right, I'm gonna get blue. I don't care what you say, I'm gonna get blue chippers. Everybody makes a big point of how McDermott wanted Van Pran and Beane said, now we're going to take Davis first. It's what round was that? The 5th round? Mm-hmm. Big deal. Who cares? The 4th round, who cares? What about the 1st round? Right. Because Mano said in his interview with Tyler Dunn, he knows for a fact that the scouts in the building are not asked about the 1st and 2nd rounds.
Yep.
So when Tyler Dunn says, well, who's picking them? He said, I think you can figure that out.
Yep.
You can figure that out. And Beane talks about all this. I got a wheel and deal. I got all this Why you got all this capital? For what? What you doing with it? You making picks after picks, and they don't do nothing for you. Dwayne Carter, he had 1 good game. Everybody, he ain't showing you nothing. And we talked about it. Matter of fact, it's on Rico's show, I think.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know about this one.
Yeah, you did.
I had this look on my face like, oh God. Oh God.
You were trying not to sound so like doom and gloom about it because we were on somebody else's show.
Yeah, I was like, man. I looked at the tape. I'm like, I can't. You know,
Yeah.
He's a try hard. He's a captain. He's a 4-year player. He's this. He's a mentor. He's a choir boy. Perfect for McDermott. So now I'm watching the Senior Bowl. Who was a wrestler? Who was a captain for all these? Who played? You know, who was a starter? Who has all this tenure? Who has a PhD in whatever? That's who McDermott wants.
Right.
And if they happen to be a blue chipper, cool. But the thing is, where your juniors at? Where your sophomore, your declared sophomores at? Where your young boys at?
Yeah.
The guys that make differences. Because if for whatever reason we got Jakeem Smith from Ohio State next year, and McDermott passed it, I go to One Bills Drive and I would knock down that new stadium myself.
Just knock it all down.
If they pass, if you know who Jakeem, ask your pops about Jakeem Smith from Ohio State.
Okay.
If they just do the 6'3", 215, 220 pounds, he's better than Marvin Harrison now as a true freshman.
Wow.
True freshman. Told the nation, you can't guard me one-on-one. Don't even try it.
Wow.
McDermott would pass on him because of that comment.
Probably.
And that would drive me insane. Because imagine that next to Keon Coleman.
Well, so here's where I think we land with all this, right? Because we've been banging on Sean, we've been banging on Beane, but here's where I think we ultimately land on all this, right?
As he drinks, pause as he drinks his water.
What? Oh my God. You get a half of one. Okay, all right. As long as you accept the half one,
we barter. That's cool.
What I think we have to give Sean credit for is what he's been able to do on defense with nobodies.
You can give him that credit.
Okay, I mean,
but honestly, you know why I don't give him that credit?
Why?
Because he put the nobodies in place. That's why. Because when you start the season not trying to replace DeMar Hamlin, re-signing Taylor Rapp to a 3-year deal, bringing in Mike Edwards, putting Christian Benford over there, Rasul Douglas over there, and you knew Daquan Jones came up a bad pack where he didn't play well. Mm-hmm. You don't have a pass rush because you got Epinesa you just re-signed for what God knows why. So it's like, okay, is that Beane or Zach McDermott? Not because, like you said, that's an installation. Look what I did with Lesser. No, I want to see what you do with the Eagles defense.
Well, right, and I think that's where we're getting to now is if he could build what he built when Leslie Frazier was here and we had Trey White and we had Poyer and Hyde and we had Levi Wallace and all those boys, and that defense was like top 10, right? If he could build that with all those players, and those players were like, you know what I mean? Like, we've already pointed out they wouldn't start on other teams, in place of the guys that they have. Imagine what he could do with better players. Imagine what he could do with some real blue chippers in here, right? And I think I don't like thinking like this because it's hard to justify this type of thinking, but the wishful thinking, the hoping and the having faith when it comes to football, I don't like thinking about football in that way because there are very factual and fine-tuned ways that you can win that have already been established. You simply have to choose a method and go, right? But I think we're at a point now where because of what Josh has done for this team and getting them to an AFC championship game, Sean is probably going to get another 3 years to figure this out. And if we're at that point, then I think the hope has to be maybe he'll be willing to kind of dial back on the culture and take some more chances on guys that may be a little risky culture-wise, and trust that the culture you've already established is good enough to carry these guys that may not be the culture, setters that a team would draft. You know what I'm saying? The hard part, though, and I think this is part of the reason why Sean hasn't done it yet, is if you bring in these blue chip playmakers, these guys are now the best players on your team. Who usually sets the culture for a team? Not usually the head coach. It's an agreement between those blue chip players and the head coach. Hey, this is what we want to see the locker room look like. And then those blue chip players will enforce it in the locker room. Sean now has this player committee that is tasked with establishing the culture that he wants in the locker room. Mm-hmm. But if you get blue chip players coming in, I think his worry is that those blue chip players might get some more follows than they really should have when it comes to what kind of culture.
Well, yeah, look at Diggs. I mean, like I said, I pointed out when Von Miller said, you know, I'm on Diggs' side, or I'm on this side. Like, why are we talking about sides? If you're on one side, there's another side somewhere. What side is that? Now, I want to draw your attention to this fun fact.
Okay.
While you're talking about it, we got above 40% snaps. Matt Milano, Sharice Wright, Ryan Davis, Eddie Yarbrough, Adolphus Washington, Ramon Humber, EJ Gaines, Lorenzo Alexander, Leonard Johnson, Jerry Hughes, Kyle Williams, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White, Preston Brown. Why do I bring those up? Who in there was a blue chipper? Not a one. But our defense was what? Ranked 18th. And that was McDermott's year.
His first year.
Yep. That was what he did with nothing.
Yeah.
And after that, we evolved on to everybody east of defense. We had Jordan Poyer, Trey White, Tremaine Edmonds, Micah Hyatt, Matt Milano, Jerry Hughes, Kyle Williams, Lorenzo Alexander, Starlo Tulele, Raphael Bush, Zach Lawson, Trent Murray. How many guys do you remember even being on his team? Raphael Bush. Who the freak is that? Do you remember Ryan Davis? Do you remember these guys? But they played over 50% of snaps.
Wow. And
the thing is, there's no progression. They plop in Tremaine Edmonds. We're good. No, you're not. Because guess what? Your points against was still 18th out of 32. You still were pretty bad on the lower echelon.
God, Ramon Humber.
We were like, yeah, Ramon, give us some. I mean, and then you go into 2019. Tremaine Edmonds, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. It's the same names over and over and over. What did we win? Nothing.
Right.
So you keep doing the same thing over and over again. What you expect to happen? Yeah. That year, we were second in points against. But guess what? Our offense was horrible. 23rd out of 32. Because the offense was bad. The defense was good. We can never have peanut butter and jelly the long way.
The long way.
You can't have it. And what we want, as Bills fans, anybody in this chat, I challenge you to tell me I'm wrong. We want a two-sided team. We want a true three phases team. Right. A team that can kick your teeth in on defense, a team that can score on you on offense, a team that can kick field goals from a mile away on special teams.
Hey, June, can you zoom in on Key? Because the camera is kind of like focusing on the football and then going back to Key. Just zoom in on a little bit.
Because I lost weight.
It's possibly the case.
That's probably what it is. I lost weight.
Yeah, there you go. I'm paying it. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So I'll read this comment from Kev because I saw this. I wanted to respond. So Kev says that was Leslie Frazier defense for one. You know what? It's hard. It's hard to prove that. It's hard to prove that. I think the role that Leslie Frazier played was and is the same role that
Babbage.
That Babbage is playing, which is, Sean saying, this is the scheme I want to run. I want you to enforce it. I want you to flesh it out and call the plays.
Yeah, I mean, and it might have been Frazier's defense, but guess what? Frazier didn't pick all the talent.
Well,
that's
right,
the thing.
right.
He didn't pick the talent, so I don't care whose defense it is because he's not the one that's picking the people to run his defense.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to indict that person, whether it be Beane or whether it be McDermott. Because after year one of being 18 out of 32, you say, this is good. Yeah. I like this. If he says that, get your head examined. Not Kevin. I'm talking about the coach.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. It wasn't the scheme was never the issue. It was the players executing the scheme. Levi Wallace, injured Matt Milano, Ryan Davis, Eddie Yarbrough. Why? Like I said in the beginning of the show, why are they on this team? If you're a championship team, those aren't championship players.
Right. Right. I mean, to be fair, when Brandon Beane was in Carolina, he wasn't a part of picking the players' process.
No, he was the associate GM.
Yes, correct. And so, Sean McDermott could give his input on, what positions they had need at, but he wasn't the final one picking the players. He was tasked with putting them in the right positions and, getting them to play well. Mm-hmm. I think when you look at what he had in Carolina, and Steve touched on this too. Let me get to this question or this comment here. So Steve says, can McDermott coach better players and get their respect? I thought so looking at Carolina, but why does he avoid them? Can he innovate? I think he meant to say, can he be innovative and update his scheme? Is he really a defensive genius? I wouldn't say genius, but I think he's a smart, savvy defensive head coach. If you look at what he's been able to do against the Chiefs with the players that we have, I think it's been savvy enough to stand any kind of chance on defense with the players that we have. And he's been able to take the Chiefs down to the wire, 3 different times in playoff games against them. You know what I mean? Now, what we saw with his performance in Carolina was his scheme with good players makes a big impact, right? And that's that scheme is largely surrounded around the play from Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis, and then eventually Shaq Thompson stepping into that role. But Kawan Short and some of the other pass rushers that they had and all that kind of stuff. All of that just kind of working together, and then you pick up Josh Norman, and you still have when he leaves, you end up with the 2 young corners that they had that everybody raved about how well the 2 rookie corners are playing in that defense. So he's shown that he's good enough to get guys to play at an elite level if the talent warrants it, right? Mm-hmm. So I think what we would have to do is we would have to begin a conversation about a mentality change, not just from Brandon Beane, but a mentality change from the owner of the team as well, because that was the other part of the comparison about Sean McDermott and Nick Sirianni was the radio stations, the news tabloids, the fans, all the noise was allowed to happen because the owner never stepped out and said, this is Nick's show. He never said that from the beginning. He never stepped out and defended Nick at any turn when all this noise was going on. The owner could have easily shut it down. This is our head coach. This is who we moving forward with. I believe in him, blah, blah, blah. We didn't hear none of that from the owner. Right? The owner let him cook. Mm-hmm. Let him boil. Let's see if he can handle it. This is Philly. Let's see if he can handle the heat. And he did. But from day one, we've had an owner, and I think I'm going to keep taking it back to this point. It's a masterful point when you think about human motivation. For Terry Pegula to look at the other team that he owns in the Sabres and say, man, I hate going to that building. But when I go over to this Bill Stadium, man, I love it over there. Locker room is fun. We winning games, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to do anything to mess that up. Mm-hmm. So in Terry's mind, Sean is doing a good job. From what he knows now about the NFL, even to this point, and what he knows about how to win games and all that kind of stuff, he's looking at the winning during the regular season, and he's like, I'm making money. I'm having a good time. People love me when I'm around in Orchard Park. Why would I change any of that? Like, think about where Ralph Wilson was and how upset we got at Ralph Wilson for talking about the Toronto deal as just a drop in the bucket. These are rich men with feelings and motivations, right? And we have to begin to look at them like that. We can't look at them as this savior that keeps the team here and all that. These are human beings with a lot of money. Think about it, if we had that same kind of money, we would have motivations. We would have things that me in particular, if I own the Sabres and I own the Bills, and the Bills are doing great, but the Sabres are terrible, I'd probably hang out in Orchard Park a little bit more than I would downtown Buffalo. You know what I'm saying? We can't seem to get it figured out over here. We done been through how many coaches now and how many years, and we still can't seem to get it right. We don't have the answers. I don't understand what the problem is over here, but Sean got it popping over on this side.
Right.
Right? So That all makes perfect sense when you're talking about why the situation is the way it is right now, where Sean has had no heat on him whatsoever in 9 years, and Nick Sirianni has had plenty of heat in 3 years. First 2 years of his career, second year, he gets to a Super Bowl. Third year, he's on the hot seat. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me.
I mean, to me, that's how I operate. So what have you done for me lately?
Well,
that's what it is.
There you go. That's real life.
Mm-hmm.
That's been the NFL the entire time that I've known it. What have you done for me lately? We've always said that about players, right? I want to get to this other point here. Nico says, quick question. So what makes a player a day one starter in your opinion? And what if Beane can only draft the next best available option because all the other great players have been drafted already? Okay. So what makes a player a day one starter is first and foremost what they've shown in college. If they've shown in college that they are an elite player and they dominate their competition at the college level, I know I can count on that guy to come in and I'll give him a chance as a day one starter. Now, I also have to combine that with conversations that I have with his coaches, conversations that I have with his family to see what his character's like. Is he a hard worker? What are his habits like? I also have to look at everything that he puts on tape, because I can go and watch him live and see that he's great. I can see that he dominates his competition, but I need to go and look at the losses, or I need to look at the reps that he doesn't get a sack and see how successful, how close was he to getting a sack? What's his technique like? All these things go into the decision-making process of, is this guy going to be a day one starter? Now, typically with a first or second round pick, it's widely accepted in the NFL that those guys are not considered to be developmental guys. Mm-hmm. Like even in the later picks of the first round, these are all guys that are expected to come in and contribute day one. So by definition, rounds 1 and 2 are supposed to be day one starters for their teams.
For me, I take it a step further. It's not so much what they do in college for me. It's more so, do they have that it factor? Is there a trait that they have that nobody else has? Like I told, I don't know if I told on the show, but I went to a UB game with my uncle, and they're playing University of Pittsburgh. I don't have to say what year because you're going to figure this out. And we're sitting about mid-level. You've been to the UB Stadium; it's not that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. And so all of a sudden, I'm like, who's that little chunky dude that is that offsides? Why is he out the line so fast every time? Why is he in the backfield unblocked every time? University of Pittsburgh. Who is this guy? Turns out to be Aaron Donald. See, when it leaps off the page, not their stats, but are they a game breaker? Are they a good game breaker, game record? That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Keon Coleman, if you got to say they will become, doesn't work for me.
Exactly. That doesn't happen in the NFL.
No, and I'm not saying he can't develop. I'm not picking on him, but my point is, that's the most recent one that we've heard. They said he's going to develop into. If you got to say that sentence or that precursor, it's not what I want. Mm-hmm. What you're looking for is that Malik Neighbor. You're looking for that Brian Thomas Jr. And that goes into when you asked me earlier about the draft and combine. My thing is, I had caveats to what I expected. One of them was for the Bills to say, you know what, take the bull by the horn. We're gonna move up. If Matthew Golden moves at 20, we're going to 19. If Grant from Michigan, if he drops it to 16, we're going to 15. I got 12 picks. I ain't got no money.
Right.
All in. What y'all need? We want to do it for Myles Garrett.
Yep.
This is this 6'3", 340-pound man is gonna run a 4.9. Mm-hmm. He's gonna move people.
Yep.
He's gonna be faster than guys half his size.
Yep.
That's what you want next to Ed Oliver, because you got to think about what does it bring to our team. Remember earlier I said I don't care about Myles Garrett because what's behind him is to get him the time to get to the quarterback.
There you go. Yep.
This Grant dude, if he was anywhere near, and I've seen him go 16. I know the consensus is 10, but I've seen him drop. You got to make a move on that. Right. If it's a game breaking wide receiver, not a fast guy, not a tall guy, Not a trace. I want a guy that is polished. A
Boogie
guy that
Basham,
runs. Go ahead.
Boogie Basham as a second-round pick was not a dominant guy.
No.
I mean, Kyer Elam as a first-round pick was not a dominant guy.
Nope.
I mean, Kincaid was
He was
fairly dominant at Utah,
Yeah.
right? But you bring him in and you basically make him another Dawson Knox.
Yes.
And so again, I don't want to get into the weeds of all of that, but I think the point sticks out, and you know the point you're trying to make, which is like, look, you can't. Sean Payton and Jim Moan has brought this out on the Go Long TD podcast. He said Sean Payton told him and the other scouts, you can't make a living off of exceptions.
Yep. If
your goal is to find these diamonds in the rough in the first round, you're setting yourself up for failure. Because what you're doing essentially is the same thing. You're looking for the exception to the rule every time.
Every time.
You're looking for the impact player, the blue chipper, who's also an obedient, you know, doesn't rub the coach the wrong way, doesn't argue with anybody, doesn't do anything bad. Like, of course, those are going to be the diamonds in the rough in every round. Because those types of guys are not plentiful in college. They're not, right? So when you set out on a search, and the biggest foundation of your search is that type of guy, like the personality, the characteristics, you're setting yourself up to try and find the exception, which is setting yourself up for failure.
Yep. I mean, you knew that was the MO when we got Ed Oliver and they said this is Aaron Donald. There was nothing anywhere on any film ever in the history of mankind. No disrespect, Eddie. But you're not an Aaron Donald. You know that. I know that. And the Bills know that. So it's just the fact that why are you typecasting? The comparisons are for the layman like us. They're for the people that don't have the hours and hours and hours to spend watching people play.
Right.
You shouldn't be using that. What is he? I want you to tell me, what is he bringing? What is it that you drafted him for? Did you draft him for his first step? Did you draft him because he's an ox? Did you draft him because he's tall? What is your MO? You know, and that's not too much in the weeds. When I used to play Madden, what I do? I didn't scout the first and second rounds that heavy.
It drove me nuts, dude.
Yeah,
you would just scroll all the way to the bottom.
Yep.
You didn't care about nothing else.
I saw it because
let me see the big boys.
Right, because like you said, the work starts, and I just thought about it. It just hit me. That's why Beane and McDermott don't ask the scouts for round 1 and 2. Because in their minds, on their boards, these are their blue chippers. Ed Oliver, Kincaid, can't misses, Elams.
Yep.
When we got to start talking to the scouts third and lower, that's where we got to do our work.
Right.
And guess what? Those scouts are hitting. Those scouts are hitting.
That's a good point.
So maybe you need to bring them up to the second round.
Well,
let them in the room in the first round.
Just bring them up, period.
Just bring them up. Because, I mean, the lists are out there. You know, and Jaden Ivey might not work in Buffalo, but he might work in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And you need to understand what you're looking for. And that's why I always said, what is the identity? When we first started the show, what's the identity? Before I start building anything, what are we building for? Because if you're going to do a soft zone, I'm not going to go get the best man corner in the nation.
Exactly.
If you're going to run this rotation, why am I speaking a first rounder on a defensive line rotation? You're not going to let them play more than 60%. That's a waste of time.
Right.
So why did I do that? Give me to do a Palmer from Oregon. Give me Alfred Collins from Texas. Give me Deion Walker give me somebody that's actually going to play a lot for that investment.
Exactly. That's what it's about. Return on investment. Real quick, the other half of this comment from Nico, he says, and what if Beane can only draft the next best available option because all the other great players have been drafted already? You've already made a point on that. If you want to rehash it, I'll give it up to you.
No. I think you have to be able to pivot. You have to pivot. You know, because you say I have to have a wide receiver. You failed. I have to come out like Buddy Nix. I have to get a quarterback before I retire. I already put my paperwork in, so I got to get a quarterback. EJ or Gino. Gino didn't talk to me in his visit. EJ was eager. Bet. EJ Manuel. I'm riding off to the sunset. Gave you Buffaloni as a quarterback. See y'all later. He fizzled out real quick. But the thing is, if you say, okay, I got to get a wide receiver. Okay, Isaiah Bond. He's not there. Okay, Matthew Golden, he's gone. Ted McMillan, he's gone. Okay, Luther Burden, he's gone. Well, let's see what we got at defensive end. Let's see what they got at cornerback. Don't say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and take Savion Williams and move up for him because I'm afraid that somebody's going to take him. He's a second-round draft pick.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. They get scared because everything else is good because they sat on their hands. They sit on 12 draft picks that they told you they have, and they don't use them properly. They're not aggressive like they think they are, like they say they are, like they typecast themselves to be. They're not.
Yep. Steve says, never forget Cody Ford over DK Metcalf. And now here we are talking about trading for him.
But that's the Bills. See, that's the Bills' MO, though. So that doesn't surprise me. Can anybody say Toro Troop over Rob Gronkowski?
Terrell Troop. Yo. I remember forcing myself to be hopeful for Terrell Troop. I remember being pissed about that pick, dude.
Yeah, you should have been.
He had some stupid nickname, the Mountain or something like that.
Yeah,
what did they call him?
It was, yeah. I wonder if it's even on here. Let me see.
Troop Mountain or something like that. It was some stupid.
But he
nickname.
has spinal stenosis, so he has no back strength. So good.
Yeah, right. And this is the guy we drafted. So here's a thought while you look that up. DK Metcalf. I remember when we looked at his cap hit, it's $30 million, right? And he's gonna want a new deal. This is the last year of his deal. He's 28. Now, as tired as I am of trading for these 27, 28, 29-year-olds, I do have to look at, again, part of the conversation that Jeremy White was having in terms of the cap rising as much as it's going to be rising over the next 3-4 years. Maybe it's not that bad of an idea to go and trade for a DK Metcalf and give him a 3-year extension. So let me ask you this. If we had to give up either a Greg Rousseau or a Christian Benford for a DK Metcalf, which one are you giving up and why?
I'm giving up Rousseau.
Why?
Well, as I just stated, the rotation, you're talking about, I know he played the most snaps out of anybody on the defensive line, but they want to rotate. And you're talking about a $25 million cap hit for a career high 8.5 sacks. Do I think he's ever going to get 10? Sure, he'll get 10 somewhere when somebody flushes all the sacks to him, or when you have a knockout secondary that the quarterback cannot throw on. Then he has time to get, because that's what you saw at Miami. We talked about the footage when he played. We watched it. It was all coverage sacks. They put him inside coverage sack. He never beat anybody technically 1-on-1. There was never a moment where you said, you know what, that guy is it. He's a menace. He's tall. He's an obstacle for quarterbacks.
We thought he might have graduated earlier this season when he had 3 sacks in one game.
I was getting worried about my previous bombastic statement about him not getting 10 sacks. I'm not going to tell you. I started to sweat. I'm like, wait a minute. He has 16 more games to get 7 sacks. I'm screwed. And he didn't do it. Yep. And the thing is, he had another game where he had multiple sacks. That tells you right there all you need to know. Von Miller's getting a sack a game, and he's getting volumes, games where he's ganging up on bad quarterbacks.
Yeah. Or
bad offensive lines, however you want to look at it. I'm giving up Greg Rousseau because of rotation, the cap hit, and the production.
Okay. No Bone says Rousseau's hands down our best trade asset. Beth says I wouldn't give up either. Groot and Benford are key players. There's got to be someone else to give up. You're gonna have to give up something, and here's the reason why I'm mentioning players. Right, we have Bernard, Benford, Rousseau. We got a few players that are going into the last year of their contract. James Cook is one of them as well. With the cap going up to somewhere between 22 and 25 million. Right, we still haven't gotten a final answer on what that's going to. Wait, I think we did get a final answer, right?
No. It's supposed to be up to, you're talking about the cap?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be in upwards of 277 to 280.
Okay, so which is a rise of at least 22 million. Okay, so when you're looking at where the cap is supposed to go and where we are right now, we said this last episode, we're 15 million over the cap right now. Right, so once the new league year starts, I guess we have to clear some cap space just to get under the cap, right? Now, what that's going to mean with this increase is if we do nothing and we start the new league year and the cap goes up $22 million at least, that means the most cap space that we could have after you account for the overage that we have, the excess $15 million that we're over by right now, we'll only have about $7 million of cap space. That's if we go up $25 million, which is the maximum amount that the report is talking about the cap could possibly go up to. If it's 20, I'm sorry, no. If it's 22 million, if it goes up by 22 million, that's the lowest amount it could possibly go up by. That's 7. So you're talking about $12 million of cap space at that point, right? That you could have with the maximum increase. So $12 million. 7 of that has got to be saved for draft picks, right? That leaves you with $5 million. Before you even start clearing out cap space, you got 4 players going into the last year of their contract. You got to do something. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Here's the other part too. All of these players are in their rookie deals. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you've got a guy who's 26, 27 in the last year of his second contract, and when you re-sign him, that next year that number is going to go down a little bit. Right. These are all guys who are all getting a big raise.
Yeah. I saw somebody say that Christian Benford's not Christian Benford, Terrell Bernard, his number was about $7 million per. I'm like, yeah, okay. If Tremaine Edmonds got 17 mil, $7 million for Terrell Bernard, not going to happen. There's no way. I don't see it. I mean, you think about what Bernard has shown on the field, and is it because Chicago is just a bad team run by bad people and they pay you money out the butt? Maybe, but if you give me Bernard versus Edmonds, I'm taking Bernard easily. I mean, he's a menace on the field. He makes plays. He is a playmaker. Now you got to surround him with other playmakers, but he's a start. Edmonds was just a 6'5", 240-pound linebacker. Everybody thought was great because he made a bunch of tackles downfield. Anybody disputes that, go look it up. It shows you average depth of tackle, and it's not close to the line of scrimmage at all. Yeah. He didn't get sacks. He really didn't get interceptions all like that. So you're talking about what? You're talking about, like I said again, he's our guy. So we're going to undervalue him at $6 million. It's not going to happen for a starting linebacker, a captain, especially not in Buffalo, barring an injury of sorts. You're talking about James Cook, whether it's $15 million or not. You want to get rid of that playmaker because that's Josh Allen's best playmaker. That's probably the best player on the team outside of Josh Allen. Yeah, it is. And so you want to run him off. So who are we talking about next? We got Christian Benford. Christian Benford is the number 1 cornerback. People laud him as one of the top 7 or 8 cornerbacks in the league. What do you think that's going to command? That's got to be almost 20 mil.
Well, they're saying right now it's 18 mil.
18 mil. So, yeah, 18 mil. And then we're looking at – who's the last one I'm missing?
Benford, Bernard, Rousseau, and Cook.
Okay. So, I mean, you're talking about not even increasing Josh Allen's money yet.
Right.
So you got to extend Josh Allen. You got to extend him. And that'll free up money. But then you listen to podcasts, so I can free up $70 million right now. I can too, easily. But guess what? Some of those things require consent. Some of those things require Von Miller to take a pay cut.
Yep.
Because if Von Miller doesn't take a pay cut, you lose money on the cap. He has to take a pay cut for you to get more money. If he doesn't, guess what? You can cut him all you want. He's not here, and you have to account for that body and that money.
Right. You
got to be careful. Because you can play around with these little simulators, you you can do all this stuff you want and make it work. But guess what? It takes 2 to tango. And the agent's going to be like, nah, brother. Remember that thing you said about that percentage of salary cap? We want it. We want in. And it's not going to work out, so it's not going to be pretty. Yeah. With all this money you spend on these guys that aren't here anymore.
Yeah. Kev says Cook is worth the 15. Groot is not worth the 25.
I agree, Kev. That's why when I think it was Beth said Cook, I said, watch your mouth now.
Yeah. Roy said draft picks only account for a bit over $3 million. From my understanding, that's the cash value side of it.
It is.
but when you take into account the full extent of their contracts, they usually set aside $7 million, just as like a standard amount. Every team does. And of course, if they don't spend it, then cool. But that's usually how much they set aside for draft picks in general. Steve says Cook actually got some elite traits and was the only dude that played well in the AFC Championship. Yeah, I mean, if the name of the game is keeping impact players on this team, then yeah, give Cook the 10. I think No Bones said, was it No Bones? You see,
I can't help it. My phone died, so I can't.
No, you good. Yeah, it was No Bones.
Okay.
He said, give him $11 million per with incentives. Yeah,
And that's the number. I was thinking 10 with incentives.
Yeah.
So that's even better. 11 million. I mean, that's 44 mil over 4 years. That's fine. 33 over 3. Whatever you want to do.
Right.
But the thing is, when you're talking about building a team, you can't say we don't pay running backs. We didn't pay running backs. We didn't pay Devin Singletary. Sorry, Tommy. We didn't pay Zach Moss. We didn't pay those other guys, Latavius Murray, Frank Gore. He retired. Mm-hmm. But guess what? We didn't have a James Cook before. We didn't. Why do you think? I mean, it's not that Josh Allen is not good without him, but guess how much easier his job is with Cook next to him.
Right.
I mean, think about the wear and tear on his body alone. 16 touchdowns. I screamed before the season. Everybody, he ain't get no touch. He ain't get a chance. And I go to sleep with a smile on my face now because I told y'all if he gets a chance, what happened?
Yeah.
16 touchdowns later, 17 touchdowns later, 20 total touchdowns. That's not a number to jump to scoff at. That's a grown man number.
I completely forgot about Shakir. Roy says Shakir's
that's it.
extension.
Shakir's the one I was talking about. Yep, that's the one.
There you go.
And is he not worth wide receiver 2 money? And that's what, 18 mil, 17, 18 mil right there.
Yeah.
So
Steve said it first, by the way.
What's that?
Shakir.
It doesn't matter. I can't see it. So in my mind,
I'm just messing with Roy.
No,
trying to dial down the credit I give that man.
Yeah, give equal credit. What do you say? What do you say? Boomerang? Not Boomerang. I can't say the name of the movie because it sounds wrong. But anyway,
what did they pay Shady? It was a 5-year $60 million contract. I think it was.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was the number. 5 years, $60 million or something like that.
But that was before Beane and McDermott, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Rex era.
Yeah, I mean, see, when you get a guy like that, a traits guy like that, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. When you have, not trademark? Yeah, I guess trademark plays. I guess I'll say for lack of better terms. I can't think of it right now. When you can think of a play off the bat that somebody made that you just haven't seen in a long time, you pay that person. And this is.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was 5 years, $40 million. That's way less. Wow.
Yeah. So you think about the Josh Allen run against Kansas City, the play of the year. No, it wasn't. And it's not a slight. We've seen that before, but guess what? That means he's a dog. That wasn't a fluke. We've seen that movie before.
Yeah.
James Cook. How many times we see him hit that right corner and leave him in the dust? We saw it 4 times this year. It was like he's not being caught. When Singletary's out there, hopefully, maybe somebody falls, maybe somebody runs out of their breath, asthma attack. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you don't get rid of those guys and let somebody in your New England. James Cook, here's 20 mil. You want to play against Stafford? No, I don't.
Well, I wanted to ask you about this because I'm looking at this contract that Shady got, and my first thought was like, it sounds like a pretty good contract, right? His first year salary was $16 million. Mm-hmm. And the contract included $26.5 million in guarantees, right? So really 5-year, $26.5 guaranteed. First year of that deal is $16 million, mm-hmm. right? And then after that,
it falls off a cliff.
Yeah, so to speak. But Jim Monas he made a point that I liked. Mm-hmm. And I think this was kind of the foundation of my point before when I talked about Cook being not wholly replaceable, but replaceable from the standpoint of having a guy that could be consistent as a runner for your team and carry the load, so to speak, right? Jim Monas said James Cook is a benefactor of Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. And when he said that and I thought about it, it made a lot of sense because when you think about what a good quarterback like that does, how can I say this? Josh Allen's effect on defenses is what? He can throw the ball anywhere on the field.
Mm-hmm.
He can make any pass. He can run, right? But over the years, Josh Allen has been told to run less, right? So he won't scramble out unless he has to. So teams are now in the mindset of, okay, we can play coverage and allow the defensive line to box him in, and that's how we get a sack. We get coverage sacks against Josh. That's how we get him down. We don't get him down just pure out pressure, right? Most teams can't do that to Josh. And what that does for a defense is they have to cover the whole field, so they're less likely to crowd the line of scrimmage, right? It backs the defense off of the line of scrimmage. That's extremely helpful for a running back.
But you got to think, though, James Cook was sixth and he was it sixth or seventh in 8-man boxes against highest. So he was seeing 8-man boxes the time this year. He was saying 8-man boxes all the time. Like, it was with Saquon Barkley's and Derrick. It was literally, I didn't even realize until I looked at the next gen stats. And what that does for Josh Allen, that makes Josh Allen's job easier if you give him some wide receivers that run over the middle of the field.
Well,
which they don't. But
there you go.
I mean, the thing is, it's symbiotic, because I heard Mona say it and I respect it. I didn't really, I can see why he says it.
Well, I wasn't even thinking about James Cook. Right? Because we had a, I don't want to say it was a blowout, but we had like a really like fun, heated episode about the comparison between Singletary and Cook, right? And in that episode, we looked at Singletary's numbers, and I mean they weren't that much worse than Cook's. They were worse, but they weren't that much worse than Cook's numbers, right? And when you look at the offense that we had back then, it was a air raid offense, right? And we had the receivers to back people off. And so when you look at Singletary's numbers and you say, man, they're not that much worse than Cook's, well, that's why. And I think that fits exactly in line with your point, which is when you have receivers outside and you have the quarterback, now the defense is like, we can't crowd the line, right? And so this year in particular, because the Bills had Diggs last year, which was Cook's first year. This year in particular, I think Cook's performance is that much more impressive because of that stat.
Right.
But again, if the Bills are going into this season with the mindset of like they have on defense in years past, let's just keep what we have together and try to hold that and take that to the AFC Championship again, well then, yeah, you need to sign Cook to the deal because you're going to need a guy like that if your team is not going to invest in wide receiver the way that they should. But if the game plan is to build out another receiver core that can be that air raid system and be dominant and not have to really run the ball unless you really want to.
If that's the case, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I guess that kind of becomes the conversation at that point because, look, if I can take that $15 million and put it towards a new deal with Myles Garrett and that also that part of that Myles Garrett trade is me trading Greg Rousseau. Now I've got the money to pay Myles Garrett, and it doesn't handicap the rest of my salary cap to get additional help on the defensive line and the secondary and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm sorry, I think I would take that in a heartbeat because I'm going to have receivers on the outside. I got a guy that I know I can trust in Ray Davis. Yeah, he may not turn out to be as good as Cook. He may not be as fast as Cook. But I've got a guy back there that I know can carry the load right now and is not going to be a Singletary-esque bum. You know what I'm saying?
Tommy, I ain't say it. He did.
I'm just saying.
Nah,
I never liked Singletary. I thought he was slow, but, I mean, his numbers weren't bad. But, again, I think that was part of the offense that he played in.
Yeah. I think what got me was people, when I asked, I said, okay, for people that I think I put on Twitter or somewhere, I said, for people who don't want to keep Singletary, now you got me saying it, Cook for the 25 season, where you getting his replacement? The majority said in the draft. Like, we're going to do a high draft pick on a running back when you have James Cook. Okay, noted. I'm like, that goes into what we said. When you already know about what you have, I saw even Cam Scatterable. I'm like, he's fun. That's Ty Johnson's replacement. But he's going to go way too high to replace Ty Johnson. If he was in the 5th or 6th round, cool. But he's a 2nd-round talent. His contact balance, his nastiness, his ability to take over a game at the best he can, because he doesn't really have anything special about him except for his will. His will never to be tackled, his will to catch everything, and it will to run somebody over. Now you pair him with a James Cook or something like that. But see, when we drafted Keon Coleman, I'm like, okay, now I know what they want to do. They want to run. They want to be kind of a more traditional. They don't want to pass down the field like they used to. We need speed. They don't want speed. They went and got Curtis Samuel, and they said, that's your speed right there. Got MVS. They said, there's your speed. He didn't make. When did he get traded? Did he make it to the 53-man roster? So, I mean, they tell you, they try it. They have a short leash for it, and they go back to what they want to do. And that's fine. That's fine. But, it's for them to know and for us to watch. And I'm willing to do it. I am willing to sit here and watch and figure out what they're doing just out of fun. But when we're losing or we're doing the same thing over and over again, it kind of hurts.
So I want to. It's 7:50. We got about 10 minutes left. On the thumbnail, I had a couple of highly touted players coming out of the draft, and I titled the thumbnail "Cornerstones." Mm-hmm. So I will pose this question to you, sir. Mm-hmm. From the information that you've gathered so far about this draft, who or how many cornerstone players have you come across so far that you believe the team they step onto, they are going to be part of the foundation, the building blocks of that team for the next 10 years?
Is it just defense or anybody?
Anybody.
Ooh. Let's see. I'll just go through defense because I have Eamon Worry, I have Xavier Watts. These are safeties. I like Andrew Makuba a lot out of Texas.
Makuba is the what position is he playing?
Safety.
Safety. Okay.
Safety out of Texas.
Okay.
If you're looking at cornerbacks, where are we?
It's right there. Yep.
Obviously, I didn't look at Will Johnson and Travis Hunter because there's no point.
Yeah, they're great. I just found out Will Johnson is going to be at the combine.
Good.
He was debating, but he is
Shador, Shador and what's it called or not. So that's that. Let's see. Jediah Barron from Texas, Trey Amos, I really, really like. Those are guys that I'd be very interested in us taking. These are, like I said, I'm not going to go over guys that we have no shot at. So you won't hear Will Johnson, you won't hear Shador, you won't hear Cam Ward, you won't hear guys of that nature.
Who were the two guys with the injuries that I keep hearing about?
Notre Dame cornerback, I forget his name. Somebody help me out with his name.
So these corners that you've looked at, these are first round talents or later round?
These are the most intriguing ones that I thought fit in our scheme.
Across all rounds.
Gotcha. You're looking
at.
Let me see if I can pull it up real fast. Cornerback, you are looking at. Benjamin Morrison was one of them that got hurt. 6-foot cornerback out of Notre Dame, ran a 4.39, about 190. So cornerstones, I can tell you, if you're looking at the blue chip, can't miss, there's probably about 7 of them. But if you stay at 30 or move up, within a 22 to 30 range, you can find a day one starter. You easily find a day one starter. Now, you can't be hamstrung to a position. But like I said, in the second round, if you're looking at wide receiver, I really want Savion Williams. I really want this guy. 6'5", 230. He's inside, outside. He runs, on certain plays. He's a jump ball specialist. He has moves with the ball in his hands. Somebody that I really enjoy watching from TCU. So if you guys get a chance to take a look at him.
What's his name again?
Savion Williams.
Oh, I heard about him.
Yeah.
I heard about him.
So
yeah.
I think he's going to move up, which I don't like because I really don't want to take a wide receiver in the first round. I had him with our first pick in the second. And
there's a 6'5" guy they were talking about on the radio today too.
That might be him because he's 6'5". Or yeah,
Say
Saquon wins 6'5".
Wow.
Yeah, so we'll see what he tests at, but he's 6'4", 6'5" for sure. And he's 225. I don't know what he's gonna run, but the way he plays, I don't really care.
He said he had like 300 rushing yards too this season in college. That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, I mean at that size and the way they use him inside outside, so he's versatile. So he's like my darling of this the second round, a diamond in a rough, if you will. Which I could see it fitting, more than one master with regards to them liking big wide receivers, but also one the playmaker on the outside next to Keon Coleman. Then you could still leave what's his name, Khalil Shakir inside. Defensive line, though, I mean, it's just deep. It's so deep that I really want people to focus on not the top end. I think it was Kevin said if it's deep, get the top of the top, which I agree with. But
why are you saying not the top end?
Because I don't want to pass up on one of the game changing cornerbacks or safeties, and they're going to move up. I think they're going to move up heavily in this draft.
So first round, you think the Bills need to go corner?
I think they should go secondary, only because in the second round you can go get, like I said, you can go get yourself Savion Williams, or you can go get yourself Alfred Collins. You can look at who else? Let's see.
So you're thinking like defensive tackle third, fourth round.
Defense, you can do defensive tackle late second or third round, yeah. Or if you move up to the third round, because I have my eyes on Dan Walker, who depending on how he runs, he's 342 pounds, nose tackle, Kentucky. So I think that's somebody that they should be looking at just to absolve some of the pressure from Oliver.
Okay.
He gives you limited. He's not that great at pass rush, but when you have all the other guys around him, if he can absorb two guys on his blocks, it lets them do their work. That's why I think that you want to get rid of or move on from Greg Rousseau, because you want guys around a guy that size and that skill set to get to the quarterback, right, and not have to worry about having to have a abundance of time to do so. Defensive end wise, there are a lot of guys that you could have in that Javon Solomon type build. Where you could put them on either side of the defensive line and you flourish. But like I said, once again, if you get that defensive tackle, that size guy, that can move work, that Jordan Palmer from Oregon, that's another guy who's got very violent hands when you watch
Billy
the
D
Senior
just
Bowl.
said the kid from Oregon too.
What's that?
Billy D just said the kid from Oregon too.
Yeah, I mean that guy he's got serious hands. Billy D must have watched the Senior Bowl practices because it wasn't fair. It really wasn't fair at all, and that's somebody that I definitely think that they can take a look at. And we'll go through these as we go. I think you said for members and so forth, we'll do draft breakdowns or prospect breakdowns. So
no. That's actually just part of regular content.
Okay.
Yeah. The membership is like members only, like just a chat. You just sit there and just
just rap with us.
Yeah.
Oh, bet. That.
I know, right? We gotta get some more folk in there.
Yeah, I like that. Discord and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I think this is going to be interesting to see how this goes. You'll talk to us on Monday after the combine concludes, and we'll have a more of a 360 view of what we're looking at in terms of prospects and the Underwear Olympics and how they went.
Okay. Let's do a little crazy here. I don't even think this is crazy, honestly.
Who knows?
Salvi says Dallas podcaster proposed Cook, Kincaid, and this year's one for Micah. He wants to be the highest paid player in the league. Would you take that?
No. What?
Micah said that on his podcast. He wanted to go to the Chiefs.
I think that makes sense, but no, I'm not. I mean, I wouldn't do it. No, because it's too much. You get a first rounder up, it's too much. You're not going to be able to get free agents because of you have Von Miller's salary on your books. You got Micah Parsons. You got to give extra money to. You don't have a running back now.
Hold on. Before you stomp it into the sand. Let's make this deal realistic, because this deal here is foolish. It's very foolish, right? Cook and Kincaid and a one for Micah, not when you have to give him a new deal.
Yeah, ain't no way.
Right? So
what was the pause in that? I'm intrigued. What was the pause? He said what?
He said, "Oh, Micah's too light in the."
You got to put the other one too. hey, yo, hey.
Hey, yo.
But yeah. No.
So, what was I gonna say? Oh, yeah. Okay, so for this deal, realistically, what you're looking at is teams that have to give a player a new deal aren't gonna give up a high pick on top of that.
Yeah.
So you're not only asking us to give up a great running back and a tight end that can really hurt us.
And didn't they just draft one? Didn't they just take
I think they did.
Yeah, they just drafted somebody.
I think yeah. I remember him playing last year. And then on top of that, a number one pick. That's not going to happen. What I would say here is the Cowboys are going into this offseason saying they need a running back, right? If it's for Micah or if it's for Micah Parsons, I would do Cook a second this year and a fourth next year, conditional on if we make the Super Bowl. If we make the Super Bowl, that fourth can become a second.
So now, hang up windows. You ain't going to click.
No. Right, yeah. I think that makes it interesting because now you feel like you're really getting something for this player, and you're giving up a perhaps the top 2 or 3 impact player in the league on defense. This is a guy that can play linebacker. He can cover. He can rush the passer. I mean, he's fast enough to do just about anything on defense, right? I think Sean McDermott could have a field day with this guy. Now, if you're only giving up a running back in the last year of his contract and a second this year and a potential second next year, you got 2 seconds this year. It doesn't kill you, right? You got Ray Davis. You're not hurting for running back if you get rid of James Cook. I'm not giving up Kincaid, and I don't think they would want Kincaid because they already have a tight end, as we've established already.
They just drafted 2 of them.
And I don't think the Bills would want to give up Kincaid regardless because he's still got 3 more years left on his deal, right? But I think that is a fair deal when you factor in the Bills are going to have to make him the highest paid player on defense in the NFL. That's a fair deal. I think that deal works. If the Cowboys are willing to take that deal, if I'm the Bills, I say yes immediately.
I mean, if that's the case, I'm pivoting. I'm just trying to see what round he's.
Yeah, because you still keep your first rounder in this deal too.
Yeah, now I have to take a running back in the draft. I mean, because you only have Ray Davis and Frank Gore on the roster.
Okay, so who you taking?
So you would have to take.
And when?
You would have to. Well, Omari Hampton from North Carolina, game breaker, day one starter, blue chipper, would be the kind of guy that you'd be like, James Cook. That's cool. You know, it was cool. He was nice while he was here. I mean, this guy, he's that. And this is me talking.
What's his name again?
Omari Hampton from North Carolina.
Okay, gotcha.
And Dylan Sampson from Texas.
Ooh,
or
6
from
foot
Tennessee.
220. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's got game breaker mentality. But Dylan Sampson from Tennessee, 5'11", 190. There's your James Cook again, 4.35 speed. I mean, those are the 2 guys, but Omari Hampton is a early second rounder, and Dylan Sampson is a late second rounder. So you're gonna have to use that second rounder for a running back. So that goes, there's bye to your defensive tackle I was looking at. Unless you can figure out a way to parlay a third somehow with those fourths, you're really hampering yourself this year. So that's basically saying I have to get I get my cornerback and my safety for sure with the first round draft pick. So Micah Parsons has a complement. And then now we have to go offense with a running back and not even a wide receiver. So I don't know if Beane and McDermott would be okay taking a running back in the second round anywhere, which they would have to do at this point.
What do you think about Mullings there out in Michigan?
He's okay. I mean, What is the size here? Let me see.
6'2", 233. That's that. As soon as I saw that, I was like,
Yeah,
we haven't had a back like that ever.
He's a short yardage back. He's not going to get you any explosive plays. I mean, I think his average yards per carry is around 4.2 or something like that. So in college, that's not that great. But true. I mean, he's a people mover. You know, he's not elusive. He's straight up and down. He's actually in a complimentary situation with I forgot the other guy's name, but it might be a trio of running backs. So he wouldn't be your bell cow back. So you would definitely have Ray Davis, and this guy would be a spell to Ray Davis, and you would have to.
I would like that, and I think a guy like that, you can probably get him what, 5th round, 6th round, something like that.
Probably 4th or 5th. Yeah,
4th or 5th.
Yeah.
So you pair a guy like that with Ray Davis. Now you're talking about the Ahmad Bradshaw and Brandon. Was it Brandon? What was the running back from the Giants?
Oh, Jacobs.
Yeah, Brandon Jacobs. Yeah, you got that kind of dynamic. You know, Bradshaw was that bowling ball kind of, you know, speedy running back. Like Ray Davis has got decent speed, and he's got good hands. Like we've seen him do a lot of great things. You pair him with a guy like that, like now you're talking about a running back duo that is more bruiser than finesse.
I would actually, if I could, I'd go Scatterboo if that was the case.
Really?
Yeah, Scatterboo is everything you said. Don't look at the size. Don't worry about that. He's
5'11", 215.
Watch him play. I'm telling you.
Really?
Watch him play. Chat, tell my man, please. The dude does not go down. One guy's not taking him down. He catches everything. I mean, he's a wide receiver. He's like a utility guy that Josh Allen would love because he can throw it to him in the flat.
That sounds like a Sean McDermott guy right there.
Scatterboo. Who they play hard? It was Texas. They played Texas, and he was sick. He was hurling on the sideline, and he wouldn't let him take him out. Like, put me back in. Like, you could see he was falling apart. And he went for like 200-something yards against Texas. Jeez. After telling them that they couldn't stop him. And they lost. But he's, like I said, he looks for contact. He looks for the extra yardage. When he doesn't go down easily, he's going to drag somebody. And that's the kind of player that you want. And if you want a kind of player that would be okay in a pass-happy offense, this would be the guy I would take for sure.
Kev says, what about Legend Allen from Syracuse?
I didn't watch Syracuse. I got to take a look at Syracuse. I didn't watch Syracuse. So I'll have some. Who is this? Kev?
Yeah.
I'll have something for you, Kev, on Monday. I'll take a look at it. Matter of fact, I'll put it in the community section tonight. I'm gonna go home and take a look at it and put it in the community section.
Okay. Billy D says Carolina kid is solid. I imagine he's talking about Hampton.
Marion Hampton. Yeah. He's solid.
Okay. All right.
I didn't look at running backs because I didn't think we were going to be talking about having one. That's the one I was like, I'm not even going to scout him. I just started looking at a couple like the other day. And it's on mute, just so you know.
It is
it's
all
muted.
good.
It's muted.
I know. Oh, I thought I unmuted it. I didn't? Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
I had you back.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. All right. So, look, we plan on having a lot more answers for you guys next Monday, which is our next show. But let's get to what we need to get to so that we can get to getting. Where's all the music at? It is right here. Bam. There we go. All right. Steve says, what about UB linebacker?
Sean Dolak?
Is he coming out this year?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah, we'll have answers for all of that stuff. Come Monday, we'll have all the information we need, and we will get so deep into it. I'm not going to finish that thought.
Yeah, it's the pause waiting to happen. You don't want to do it.
This is going to end in some kind of AO moment.
Right.
Let's just skip to the
Let's just
end.
move on.
Yeah. So look, we appreciate everybody for tuning in today. We had 61 viewers with us right now. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Look, if you haven't done this already, please hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that bell too. You're going to need to hit that bell. Make that thing
ring-a-ling-a-ling
so that you can get notifications when we send notifications, like the new show on Buffalo Media Network that we're going to be doing is called The Unbelievable Podcast. Okay? Keep an eye out for that thing because it's going to be it's going to be a much different it's going to be a very different dynamic as opposed to how we do things with this show. That show is going to be a little more news oriented. We're going to have some quick hitting opinions. We're still going to have the live comment aspect to it and all that. But we really want it to be a little more focused on, giving information, and a little more focused on, just more of the entertainment value, not as deep as we go on this show, I guess. You know what I'm saying? It's only going to be an hour-long show, but if you like how we do things and you like laughing with us and hanging out, you can check that one out. It's going to be on the Buffalo Media Network. I will make sure I put a link to that channel in the description of this video as soon as I get home, so keep an eye out for that. Also, the Post Podium podcast is now a part of the Buffalo fan base family. This show, Buffalo fan base, till the end of time, maybe. I don't know. But that's coming. That's coming. So I'm just waiting to hear back from the guys now. As soon as I get all the information, we'll start airing this show on everywhere Buffalo fan base, Bills Mafia, everywhere you find them, you will be able to find us Mondays, and once the season starts, Fridays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Okay, so definitely keep an eye out for that. That's been a lot. That's a lot. That's a whole lot. but I will keep you guys posted on. Oh, I'm sorry. The Unbelievable podcast is going to air on Wednesdays. Wednesdays. That's going to be 5:30 to 6:30, right? Mm-hmm. So Wednesdays, 5:30 p.m. to 6:30. That's going to be on the Buffalo Media Network. Okay. I want to thank everybody if you've listened this far into the close. What else?
Merch. I guess to be frank now.
Yeah. All right. Everything else you need to know, merchandise, all that kind of stuff, it's all in description. Reed's Tea. You didn't even do the read.
I didn't do the read. You're going to need Reed's Tea after you do this.
I do need a Reed's Tea. A lot of big stuff coming for Reed's Tea, too. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. We talking like all kind of stuff. It's going to be in your face quicker than you know it. So this has been the Post Podium Podcast, home of the All Truth, No Sodium Takes. I have been your co-host, Aramis.
For the keys.
And we are out. Y'all have a great night.
Peace.